Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Edge version 12.8.3. Today's video is going to concentrate on new functionality called project conditions. Project conditions are created to reduce the user's project setup time. They allow a user to add all of the conditions on a page of the project instead of having to go through each page and add the conditions, eliminating the need to copy and paste conditions from one page to another. Project conditions are similar to the conditions schedule as they allow a user to set up a condition one time and use it anywhere inside of that section, giving the user the ability to speed up time and takeoff and setup. Quick note, the project conditions functionality does not interrupt the workflow for current Edge users and will not have an impact on any previously created jobs. Now let's go ahead and move into the Edge. Before we get started in a demonstration of project conditions, I'd like to show you a new preference that's been added to turn on project conditions by default. If you click on the Options menu, then Preferences, and then Program Features, there's a new feature called Default to Project Conditions Page. In order to have a page automatically created for each new bid to enter your project conditions into, you'll want to go ahead and turn that option on and select Save. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new bid to show the functionality of project conditions. I'm going to give the bid a name. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and bring in some background images by clicking the Add Images button and browsing out to a folder where I have the images stored. In this case, I'm just going to bring in several floor plans. I'm going to go ahead and create my pages now for these floor plans. I'm going to click the Select All button and then Manage Selected Images. In this case, I want to create normal pages using those images. And I happen to know that the scale for all 6 of those pages is an 1/8 inch, and I've verified that it is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and set my scale for all pages at this point and click the Save button. I've now created 6 pages. Over in the Pages Added column, I'm going to go ahead and click Continue to move on. Just like any other bid, I'm now brought into my scenarios breadcrumb. I'll go ahead and move forward to sections and move forward one more time into pages. Now here's where the first difference comes into play. Since I've turned on my Use Project Conditions pages by default option, the first page that I come to is in fact my Project Conditions page. Up toward the top, we do have a new icon showing here. It's called the Project Conditions page, which is what I'm currently highlighted on to show me project conditions. Next to it, I have a Pages icon that I can go ahead and click on. In that case, it's going to show me my normal page view. So this would be the pages that I've created with the background images from the previous step. Clicking back on the PC or Project Conditions page button will take me back into project conditions. This project conditions page is where I'm going to enter in every single condition that needs to be used within this bid. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed forward from project conditions into my conditions breadcrumb. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pull in conditions from my database that I need for this entire project. I'm going to click on my Add Condition button and go ahead and pull in several conditions into this bid. Bringing in conditions is no different than any other bid or format that you've used in the past. The only difference is that we want to go ahead and bring in conditions for the entire project, not necessarily just for one singular page. Now, I'm going to keep it pretty simple here and just say that's my list of conditions that I need for this project, and go ahead and click my Add to Page button. This is going to go ahead and bring these conditions into my project conditions page. And at this point, I can go ahead and set up any specific details within the conditions that I need for the project. So as an example, I'm going to open up my interior partition and call this wall type 1. I'm going to go ahead and leave everything set up the way that it currently is set. I'm just going to change the description and click OK. Now, just like any other project, I can go ahead and copy and insert that condition. In this case, I'm not going to copy any measurements. I'm just going to copy it, create a new name, wall type 2, and in this case, I'll just change maybe my stud gauge to 25 gauge. Obviously, you might have some other changes. We're going to go ahead and say that's the only change for this wall type 2, and go ahead and click OK. And again, I can go on and create as many different conditions in this listing as I need for my entire project. And as you can see, I do have both drywall and acoustical within the same page because again, we're using these across the entire project. For our example today, we're going to go ahead and say that that was all I needed to do to set up my conditions. Obviously, most jobs are going to be a little bit more complicated than that, but you can have as many conditions in this list as needed, again, for the entire project. So I'm going to go ahead and move to my takeoff screen to show the next portion of using project conditions. I want to point out when I get out to my takeoff screen are the two columns that I show here in the bid tree. The column on the left-hand side is called pages. The column on the right-hand side is called project conditions. The right-hand column is always our active column. That means that's the column that I'm currently using. So I currently am on project conditions. I'm going to go ahead and resize some of these to get some more room on my takeoff screen. The entire bid tree has the ability to be docked onto a separate monitor. So if you wanted to make your takeoff screen itself as large as possible, you can always drag the entire bid tree onto a secondary monitor. So the two column view that we're looking at here does give us the ability to see both our project conditions page and our normal pages in one view. Again, project conditions being on the right-hand side makes this the active piece of the bid tree right now. So what I need to do is go ahead and select the condition from the project conditions listing that I want to draw first. So I'm going to go ahead and stay on wall type 1. I then come over to the drawing pane and I see here choose page with a drop down. I can go ahead and click on that drop down and select the page that I want to move to start drawing wall type 1. So I'm going to choose my first floor plan. Again, my scale is already set because I did that when I created the background image. So all I need to do at this point is come into the floor plan and begin drawing wall type 1. As I do that, I'm going to click one line segment here for wall type 1 and then pause for a moment to show what's just happened. Looking back on my bid tree, I now show a quantity next to wall type 1, 31.5 lineal feet. I also show something below that, which in this case happens to be the name of the page that I have added wall type 1 to. And in addition to that, if I look over on the pages portion of the bid tree, I also see my level 1 floor plan, the first page that I'm drawing on, listed along with the wall type 1. That wall type 1 condition did not exist in this page until I started drawing it through the project conditions page. So what I mentioned earlier, this project conditions functionality does eliminate the need to copy and paste conditions from one page to another, as it automatically does that for me. Let me go ahead and move on here to wall type 2. And as I start to draw in wall type 2, again, I'm going to see those same things happening. I'm going to get the quantity listed for wall type 2 on this particular page, and wall type 2 is now a condition that's been added over to my page 1 floor plan. And you can see that it has a PC or project condition icon next to it. Anytime that the condition gets moved into a page using project condition functionality, that PC icon will be with it so that you know that it is a project condition. At this point, I can continue on down through my list of conditions to add in any additional conditions that I might need for this particular floor plan. In addition, if I happen to forget any conditions within my project conditions listing, I do have the ability to go ahead and add new conditions to this list. If I simply click on the conditions option, my menu changes here on the takeoff screen, and I do have an add condition button. So if I go ahead and click on that add condition button, I now have the ability to pull in any conditions that I need to into my project conditions listing. So I've now added this exterior partition right from the takeoff screen. So now I'd like to show how to move to a new page to draw in any of these conditions. So again, if I click back on wall type 1, I can see I currently have 31.5 lineal feet drawn into this first floor plan. Now I can slide over here to the choose page option again, click my drop down, and I can go ahead and move to page number 2. It's going to flip the background image for me, so now I'm on page 2, but I am still highlighted on wall type 1 on the project condition side. So at this point, I can again come in and simply start drawing wall type 1 shapes onto my floor plan. Notice that the quantity has now been updated, and if I expand just a little bit here, I can see I now show the quantity of wall type 1 from the first floor as well as from the second floor individually below the project condition. And just like on the first page when I started drawing that wall type 1, I now see that wall type 1 has been added to my second page. Now, I can continue clicking on down through on each page, each condition, and continuing to draw that. But at this point, if I wanted to move to the third page and continue drawing wall type 1, notice over on this side, I do not see the drop down for the select page. That's because I'm active in drawing wall type 1, so I'm seeing the attributes to change the line style, color, thickness, all of the details that I can change for that particular line. So if I wanted to move to the next page, at this point, what I need to do is just simply click on the PC or project conditions icon. Here, it's going to switch me now to allow me to change page to page number 3. So again, I'm on page number 3, still sitting on wall type 1. So again, I can go ahead and draw in any of the wall type 1 that I need for this particular page. And again, I've added another page onto my list with the quantity that I've just drawn for wall type 1. And again, I can go ahead and maneuver through to the next condition and begin drawing that condition wherever I happen to need it for this floor plan. So as you can see, using project conditions will definitely speed up the process of performing a takeoff of all of your conditions across all of your pages, again, eliminating the need for any of a copy and paste of conditions from one page to another. I'm going to go ahead and move out of the takeoff screen now and back to our condition listing. I want to go ahead and move back to pages. And my normal page view, you can now see that on those first 3 pages that I've added conditions to, I do have some pricing and some labor associated with each one of those pages. If I go ahead and move into those pages, and you can now see the 3 conditions that were added simply by drawing them on the takeoff screen. They do have the project conditions icon next to them, again, indicating that they originated from the project condition. So at this point, if I open condition properties on one of these conditions that has the project conditions logo next to it, I can make a change. In this case, I'll just change my centers to 24 inches just to show an example. Again, I'm on wall type 1 in page number 1. So if I make that change and go ahead and hit OK, I've now changed wall type 1 throughout the entire project. So if I move back to my pages and go into page number 2, which also used wall type 1, and edit my condition properties, again, I can see the centers has been changed to 24 inches. I'm going to go ahead and change that back to 16. Hit OK. And again, I've now changed wall type 1 throughout the entire project. I do have the ability to add conditions into a page just like I always have if I don't want them to be part of the project conditions. In this case, if I go ahead and just click add condition, I'm sitting in my normal page now, and maybe I just wanted some equipment for this particular page. I've now added equipment onto page 2, but notice it does not have the PC icon next to it. That's telling me that this condition is only used on this one page. It is not part of the project conditions page. I'm going to go ahead and move back to my pages breadcrumb and move back to my project conditions page, and then move forward into the conditions for that project conditions. Another option that I would like to show is using copy and insert of a project condition. When I click copy and insert for this project condition, I get a new option that I have not seen before called copy pages used. I'm going to go ahead and select that. When I do, copy measured quantities and copy entered quantities then becomes active, and I'm going to go ahead and select both of those. I'm basically making a carbon copy of this wall type 1 condition. I'm going to go ahead and hit the copy button and rename this. I'm going to go ahead and call it wall type 1A. And in this case, I'm going to just change a couple of things. Maybe I'm changing to a different gauge and maybe a different height. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And once I've refreshed the screen, you can see I now have the exact same condition showing 91 lineal feet for both of them. The nice thing that allows me to do is I can have a toggle switch now where I can turn on or off that entire condition throughout the entire project. So if for whatever reason I needed to bring in an alternate for wall type 1, I did that by creating wall type 1A, I can now come back and turn off wall type 1, leaving on wall type 1A, and I've now replaced wall type 1 with wall type 1A throughout the entire project. One more thing to keep in mind, project conditions are only good across each individual section that they're contained within. If you need the same project condition in multiple sections, you would need to use a copy and paste function in order to get that into a new section. So if I wanted this entire listing of project conditions to be in a secondary section, I can go ahead and mark all of them, right click and hit copy. I can then come back to my sections breadcrumb, go ahead and add a new section. Move forward and add a new page. And when I add a page, I want to make sure that I indicate that it is a project conditions page. That's very important to indicate that it is for project conditions by clicking on the box. And you can change your color of the PC icon so that you know this one's coming from a separate project conditions page versus the first one that you've created. Once I create that, I can go ahead and right click and hit paste conditions. I've now have a secondary section with the exact same listing of project conditions pages within this bid. I'm going to go ahead and move back into my first section and into the project conditions listing for that first section. What I'd like to show now is a report that we have available that is going to show you all of the takeoff quantity for each one of these conditions across the entire project. So the listing that I'm seeing here is telling me I have 91 lineal feet of wall type 1, and that is project wide or section wide across this entire section. So you can very quickly and easily see exactly what quantity that you have for each one of these conditions across that entire section. And again, we do have a report that's going to show that to you as well. So if I go ahead and open my reports dialog, the consolidated conditions summary report is set up by default to show all similar conditions within the bid. So if I go ahead and print that consolidated condition summary report, it's going to give me a preview of exactly what I was looking at. There's my 91 lineal feet of wall type 1, along with all the pricing associated with it. So a nice quick report that's going to give you a very good summary of these project conditions across the entire section. All right, so that's a nice summary of project conditions. As always, to download the latest version of the Edge, simply go to your administration portal and download the latest installer. For any questions that you might have on project conditions, please feel free to reach out to our technical support department via phone, email, and/or chat. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.